Good afternoon, bon après-midi, and welcome to, I think is going to be the most interesting and exciting panel of the day. Thank you for your patience in staying for it. My name is Dinah MacLeod. I am the Director General of the Cobalt Institute, and it is my great pleasure and honor to be here on stage to discuss positioning Africa to succeed in diversifying global value chains. So thank you very much to our panelists. I will go and start, if I might, by saying how honored we are to be joined by two ministers, not one but two, as well as the other distinguished panel. And I will launch straight in with a question to His Excellency Paluku, de dire qui sont les éléments les plus importants de faire une chaîne de valeur diversifiée.
So the question has been asked to Excellency Paluku, what is the main element to the value chain or diversified value chain in the team?
Oui, merci beaucoup. Je voudrais commencer par remercier Cobalt Institute pour cette invitation qui m'a été décernée à participer à ce panel.
Thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking the Cobalt Institute for the invitation that they've sent to us.
Je pense que l'Afrique est au tournant de son histoire à ce 21e siècle.
I think that Africa is on its turning point in this 21st century.
Parce que nous sommes le continent qui, en fait, est au cœur de la transition énergétique avec les minerais stratégiques dont nous disposons.
Because we are the continent that is on the transition of the energetic move with the all minerals that we are having.
Le cobalt, c'est chez nous en Afrique.
Cobalt we find in Africa.
Le lithium, c'est chez nous en Afrique.
Lithium in Africa.
Le nickel, c'est chez nous en Afrique.
Nickel in Africa.
Le manganèse, c'est chez nous en Afrique.
Manganese as well in Africa.
Le cuivre, c'est chez nous en Afrique.
Copper in Africa.
Mais malheureusement, le contraste, c'est que c'est dans ce continent africain où se vit la plus grande pauvreté.
But the contrast is that it's in the same continent where all these minerals are coming from, where there is a high level of poverty.
Alors, que faut-il faire maintenant pour inverser la tendance et participer à la création de chaînes de valeur?
What do we have to do so that we can change this tune to value chain?
Moi, je pense que la première chose, c'est de devoir instituer des lois qui obligent la transformation de nos minéraux sur le continent africain.
I think the first thing is to change the laws so that we can be able, as Africans, to transform our minerals in Africa.
Parce que depuis 1960, nous avons exporté nos minéraux.
Since 1960, we have been exporting our minerals.
Mais nous n'avons capté que 3% de la valeur marchande de nos minéraux.
We only kept 3% of our minerals.
Et donc, je pense que nous devrions maintenant nous mettre ensemble avec ceux qui ont bénéficié de ces minéraux pour un partenariat gagnant-gagnant.
I think we have to work together for those people that have benefited all these years so that we can work together in a win-win situation.
Et la République démocratique du Congo et la Zambie ont commencé une initiative autour de la chaîne de valeur sur les batteries électriques.
The Republic Democratic of Congo and Zambia have started some negotiations into the development of batteries.
Pour inviter plus tard tous les pays africains à se joindre à ces deux initiatives de manière à nous permettre
to invite in the long run all African countries to join this initiative of these two countries so
pour
that
que désormais les précurseurs de batteries soient produits en Afrique, ensuite les batteries électriques et enfin les véhicules électriques.
So that batteries can be produced in Africa, then we can move into producing the electric cars in Africa.
Et c'est possible parce que en RDC comme en Zambie, nous avons déjà créé une zone économique spéciale qui va abriter les premières usines de fabrication de précurseurs de batteries électriques.
It's possible because between Zambia and DRC we have created an economic zone so that we can be producing and manufacturing all these batteries in Africa.
Et les études de préfaisabilité viennent de prendre fin avec les résultats dont nous disposons déjà.
And the feasibility studies have finished already and we've got the result of those.
La prochaine étape, ce sera maintenant les études proprement dites.
The second stage or step is now to go through the proper studies.
Et la mobilisation des financements.
To mobilize some finances.
Et le début effectif de de la construction des usines
and the beginning of construction of
pour que nous soyons
industries,
réellement la véritable chaîne de valeur des batteries électriques.
so that we can really be the real value chain of the electric batteries.
Donc voilà l'initiative autour de laquelle la RDC et la Zambie se retrouvent.
So this is the initiative between Zambia and the DRC, where we found ours today.
Malheureusement, en Afrique, nous sommes toujours distraits parce qu'on nous invite à pouvoir nous affronter contre nous à travers les guerres répétitives.
Unfortunately, in Africa, we've been distracted. They are inviting us to get into unnecessary conflicts.
C'est ici l'interpellation, donc, à nous tous Africains de considérer que nous sommes instrumentalisés contre nous-mêmes pour le malheur de nous-mêmes.
So this is the time for us Africans to understand that we have been instrumentalized ourselves to fight, to waste time for nothing.
C'est le moment de nous réveiller
We have to wake up
et de promouvoir désormais un partenariat gagnant-gagnant
and to
entre
promote
Sud
a
et
win-win
Nord
situation between South and North,
pour que les disparités entre nous et les autres puissent disparaître.
so that we can be all the common ground, all of us.
Voilà mon introduction et je vous remercie.
So this is my introduction. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Votre Excellence. C'était très, très intéressant. Et c'est très, très bon de faire une introduction de ce panel. Merci. Turning then to Your Excellency, Henry Alake. And it's a real honor to have you on this panel. And I know that you would like to make a few remarks to follow up this nice introduction that we had.
Thank you very much for having me. This is a very unique opportunity for us in Africa to come together and forge a common front on the most efficient and effective ways of harnessing these abundant natural resources, the critical minerals that we have embedded on our soil in Africa. Like my colleague said, for too long, I wouldn't even say since 1960, for several decades, if not centuries, Africa has been exploited via the process or the style of exploration, exportation, or extraction to exportation. It's called mine to port or mine to market. And this style has, over the years, really devastated the landscape of Africa physically, has subjugated the people of Africa into extreme poverty because there had been no beneficiation, no value addition over the years. So we are saying in this new era, now that there is a new economic scramble for Africa, we must forge a common front to prevent the experiences of the past. And on our own part in Nigeria, we have put in place a lot of policy initiatives to sanitize the operating environment of the mining sector via exploration, clean exploration, cleaner extraction processes, and above all, local processing, so that the multiplier effect can be beneficial to our people in Nigeria. But that same policy is what we advocate for the rest of Africa. Because, in fact, only yesterday, African ministers of minerals came together to form a body which we call the Africa Mineral Strategy Group. And this was conceptualized at the Future Minerals Conference in Riyadh in January. And we consolidated it yesterday. A lot of the African countries signed the resolution, and the charter would also be signed pretty soon. Some have even signed. The basics of this is to ensure that we allow Africans to benefit, most importantly, from their natural resources, the exploitation of the natural resources. So we're sanitizing the environment, the mining sector environment, creating the enabling environment to attract investment, whether local or foreign. But of course, this time around, the emphasis will be on local value addition, so that henceforth, Africa can gain maximally from these abundant natural resources. There are other aspects that we will go, as we go along, we'll make public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very moving and important words to hear on this panel. Turning from that to the future with Dr. Paulo Tanganha, I wonder, now we corresponded earlier. You talked about the import of technology. You talked about specialized skills, investments for industrialization, and you also said that you would have something to tell the audience about what the critical factors are to ensure that the mineral resource value chain in Africa is going to do just that, is importing the right things so we get that, build up that value chain.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, my colleagues in the panel already spoke most of the things. But the other thing that we have to consider is that there are differences in priorities. Most of the mining companies, they come from well-industrialized countries, while us in Africa, some of African countries, their real priority is to industrialize our own country, which means that those with the industry sector well developed, they need the raw materials from Africa, but for us, the priority is to mine our mineral resources, industrialize our own countries, and then we start to add value to our own mineral resources. But we know that for Angola specifically, we want a better Angola for the Angolans, but we also need a good Angola for Africa and for the rest of the world, because the economic activities belong in a certain ecosystem that we share a lot of knowledge, technology, and so forth. So, on my view, the critical factors to get advantage of our mineral resources and diversify the mineral value chain, I would say that the robust legislation and a stable fiscal system so that it can give trust to the investors. Then I would say would be high quality infrastructures, because all mining activities depend on having good infrastructure. The third one is a favorable financial or banking system, so that investors, they trust the financial system so that they can export their dividends whenever they do business. And the fourth, I would say, appropriate data collection, because policymakers, they need data. They need to analyze the data and have a support for their decision making. So in my view, those are the critical factors.
That's fascinating. So you have outlined just beautifully the overall infrastructure that will make it possible for Africa to shine in terms of the fiscal infrastructure and making sure that the banking system is stable. I'm going to turn now to Christine, she is where the rubber hits the road. And going to the other part of things, really talking about what the role of suppliers in mining equipment would have in diversifying those global supply chains. Why is that even important, Christine?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. And we've already touched on some of the aspects of that with robust innovation and also local value addition. So just a bit of context, AusMine is an industry association representing the Australian mining equipment technology and services sector, or suppliers to miners. We've been around for 35 years. We have about 750 members. And what we do is we really promote the value of innovation in technology and mining and help our members capture greater opportunities. Because what we know, with every $1 spent in mining, there's $10 leveraged along the supply chain, along the value chain. So there's a lot of value and a lot of innovation that comes out of the supply sector. So when it comes to diversifying the value chain, when it comes to meeting demand, first of all, for miners, they need to be mining responsibly. They need to be doing it safely. They need to be doing it efficiently in an environmentally friendly way and sustainably. And suppliers, or what we call mining equipment technology and services, or the MET sector, is key to that, is key to making sure that miners mine responsibly. And then the other part of that is the potential upstream industry development of the supply sector itself. So as an example of that, in Australia, suppliers to the mining industry are a sector among themselves, generate 4% of the domestic economy. It's a $114 billion industry a year. So we always hear about what comes from miners, but we don't hear about what the supply sector creates. Not only that, suppliers are a source and a driver of investment, and they are also a key source of innovation. And not only in mining, but in other sectors as well. And I'll give you an example of that. Last month, I was invited to visit NASA, because NASA is interested in the technology which our mining suppliers provide, because they want to map the subsurface of the moon. And so they've come to Australia, they've come to our suppliers and said, can you help us with this? Because of the complexity of what our suppliers do, what the mining industry does, and them recognizing the value that those suppliers bring not only to mining but other industries as well.
NASA.
Yeah, it was pretty cool visiting NASA,
that's
I have to
pretty
say.
Cool. It's not rocket science. It's mining science.
That's it.
Very nice. That leaves us with our last panelist, Roland, my friend from the International Lithium Association, which is one of the newcomer trade associations, just 2 years old now, but really blazing a trail for lithium. And we've been talking about diversifying supply chains, but I think that you have something to say about diversifying in a responsible way. So the question I have, Roland, is how can emerging mining areas, you can of course use lithium as the example, be informed of global mining best practices from the very start, so they're not having to play catch up all the time on this?
Thank you, Diana, and it's very nice to be here. Hello, everyone. We're living in the lithium century. So Africa is blessed with truly vast lithium reserves, and there's absolutely no reason why it can't benefit from them if it's done in the right way, in a responsible, in a clean, efficient way. The way to position Africa, if I may, is no different from the way to position any other mining country. Learn from the best, don't repeat their mistakes, and really that's one of the beauties of the lithium industry. Before 5 years ago, nobody was looking for lithium, so we have this opportunity to create a mining industry almost from scratch. I mean, historically, lithium's been used in air conditioning units, in fireworks, in aircraft alloys, medication, lubricants in your car. And then batteries came along, and it was kind of cute little things for a while. And now it's these enormous things which are, well, up to a ton of battery materials. This is an enormous, pivotal moment in human history. Right up there with the first industrial revolution when the steam, hot water was first harnessed. Stability, predictable legislation, infrastructure, public, private, and government partnerships, these are all really beneficial to making sure that the rising tide lets everyone float. One way to do this, obviously, is to build trust and to build confidence throughout the communities from top to bottom. And that way you measure expectations. Part of the challenge historically with certain other commodities has been the expectations that, in lithium we call it, some people in the press call it white gold, which then they say, well, we have a white gold rush, and this mentality of gold being something which you can get rich quite quickly because you just pick it up and sell it, is completely different in lithium. Lithium is really difficult to process. You need 1,000 degrees and some acid. Not everyone can do it. One way that can be done is the government to create the framework. And really, I've got to take my hat off here to the Minister from Nigeria for his solid minerals roadmap. I recommend you all, if you're not familiar with this document, I do urge you to go and read it. It has a beautiful way of setting out the long-term vision, if I may, and then there's clarity of expectations. when you have the long-term vision so clearly set out, you can work towards it, and people have their expectations managed. And already this is bearing fruit. One of the members from our association, Ganfeng Lithium, they are already investing a 16,000-ton refinery in Nigeria, which is, I believe, the first refinery in Africa for lithium. So
That's amazing. Thanks, Roland.